So, Chris, we're back here again on the Tech Insights podcast.
Yes.
Plenty to discuss today.
Absolutely.
So, what would you say is the most important thing for business owners to know about the changes coming?
Look, there's been a few changes and they keep updating it, which is absolutely fantastic. It's good for consumers. It's good for all of us. But essentially, one of the big changes actually happened about a year ago, where private citizens can actually sue a large business for a large breach of data. So that's been in for a year now. July 1 came another change, and it's around the money laundering changes. And what's actually happened there is where a lot of businesses thought that they are not taken up into that privacy change, they are now. So the government actually expected or estimated about 100,000 small businesses would actually be caught by these new changes.
Okay, well, that actually, my next question was going to be that a lot of SMBs assume that they're not caught up in that particular Privacy Act.
Absolutely. So that is probably quite a dangerous thought process now. You need to change that a little bit. Obviously, look at the data that you're holding, et cetera, and see whether you are caught up. But that initial thought was around the $3 million turnover.
Yes.
And whether I was under that threshold and therefore the Privacy Act did not apply, or these changes didn't apply. They do now. So... And they have, just a note, they have also said that they're going to remove any kind of threshold.
Oh.
Now, that hasn't happened yet, but I'd certainly, any business, I'd be looking at it and making sure that we are actually doing the right thing with regards to the Privacy Act and what it actually means for our business. Do not lean on we're not caught under that yet. There's so many that have been caught under the new one. So estate agents and et cetera, for that 3 million turnover is not a thing anymore.
So basically all SMBs need to have it on the radar.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, okay. And there's also some changes coming in December around AI and automated decision making.
Yeah, there's two things coming on the 10th of December, this year. And that is around child protections under the privacy laws for children specifically. And the other one is, as you said, automated decision making. So not necessarily AI, it's anything. So if you've got an algorithm, a calculation, or anything that you do, that think of things like whether people are going to get a loan, which tenants get selected, etc. So any system whereby there's an automated ranking or something like that. Now, it's important to note that the government's not saying that you can't use this. They're saying you need to be transparent about its use.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because, yes, I saw like even for jobs, resumes and that sort of thing.
All sorts.
Yeah. And I guess we're just going to probably see more and more of it.
So what you'll see, or what businesses need to do if you are using any of these, specifically AI, because it's quite difficult to then say how it's working because it's difficult with AI. But you do need to then disclose that. The best place to do that is in your privacy policy. So update your privacy policy. That's where it needs to be.
Okay, well, that's some good advice there because that should be not too difficult to do.
It shouldn't.
Yeah. What do you think is the biggest mistake that small to medium businesses are making around privacy these days?
The biggest. You could tell there's a few. The biggest one actually is probably still holding on to data that they shouldn't.
I thought you were going to say that actually.
That's probably the biggest one because, there's going to be, I can guarantee you, business owners are going to go away and look when I say this, right? There'll be a 2019 spreadsheet for a marketing campaign.
No.
Yes. And it's going to have details on it. And it's going to be sitting somewhere random or in multiple places. So yeah, don't keep data longer than you need to. And it kind of goes into that whole fact of, do you know what data you have and where is it and et cetera. Like we've discussed it before. Yes. Absolutely.
Data hygiene.
I'll add one more to that just as a bonus.
Yes.
Right? Because it's important. And that is a lot of smaller businesses don't have time for all the stuff that doesn't relate to their business, so to speak. It's not making direct money, like privacy, like policy. So what they'll do is they'll go and find a privacy policy, change the name on it, right? Won't read it because it's 6 pages long, and then put it on their website.
Yes.
The problem with that is whatever that privacy policy says you do with the data, if you're not doing it, that's going to become a problem. So the Information Commissioner is actively going and auditing businesses against what they do against their policy. This is already happening. It started last year.
Wow.
Yeah.
It kind of does lead me on to, I was going to say, what could business owners do today? You've kind of already answered that question.
I will rephrase it. So go and do a data audit. So grab your heads of department or whoever you need to and actually just go, right, the data that we collect. So especially if you a business to consumer, you're probably going to hold a lot more personal data, but even business to business. When it's business to business, a lot of the time business owners will go, well, I'm not holding a lot of personal data. It's about another business. And that's a fair statement. So what you need to think about then is your staff.
Yes.
So if I've got 180 staff, but I'm a B2B, business to business, I've got to worry about where my staff data is then. And again, this starts going into what about staff that have left?
Yes.
Do you still hold their Medicare cards and a copy of their passport and their driver's license and bank account detail? There's so many things, tax file numbers.
Yes, well, that's
Where's
it.
it kept? Is it safe?
Super.
If you've got it in a SaaS-based thing, fine. Can you remove anything you don't need is an important one. So data cleansing. But to wrap it up, it's essentially what data do we have? Where's it kept? Who has access to it, right? And do we need it?
Yes.
4 things.
Okay. Well, that's 4 good reminders there. So,
Absolutely.
And something most business owners could go away and look into.
It's not hard to do. I think it's more a case of it kind of just feels like okay, that's not making me money.
No.
I need to focus on getting new customers. I totally get it. And that is why, you do sometimes need to bring in experts, run an audit, do it. There are tools that can do it. Unfortunately, they are relatively expensive to be able to do those sort of scans, but very useful, very, very useful, especially legal firms, accountants, things like that, where they do collect a lot of that sort of data and it becomes a massive target, is you can actually get a system that will scan using AI and actually pick up driver's license, tax file numbers, etc., and actually give you a dashboard of how many you have and where it is. It's very impressive.
For some businesses, it probably would be worth spending the money.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Agreed. Yeah.
Well, with all that data, probably leads me into, an incident response. So if a business does discover a breach, are you able to just walk us through what the first hour actually looks like? I know we've covered probably the whole data breach before, but just really around
just
that
first
first
steps.
hour. Yeah.
It's like, panic.
Apart from breaking out into a cold sweat.
Exactly. So step 1, don't panic. Remain calm. So your very, very first steps, obviously, around the not panicking and remaining calm, but the first actual step is containment. So if it is something that's common, a common one would be an account breach, right? Someone will get a phishing email. They've given their username and password away. A bad threat actor has now come onto the system using that username and password, and now they're sitting in that environment, right? And it gets discovered somehow. Now, that could be you've got an alerting system that's managed to pick that up, or they've sent a fake invoice to one of your customers, which is common. So that's your business email compromise is what that's referred to. And then it's picked up, like maybe the customer calls and you go, hold on, I didn't send an invoice. And then you discover what's going on. This is the first hour.
Yep.
And you can understand the panic that sets in at that point, right?
Yes.
But containment, right? So immediately resetting that account, logging off all sessions, right? Kicking those sessions off, resetting the password, checking for like sneaky rules across the mailbox because they've been in the mail for so long. It's like, have they put redirections on to go to an external mail so they still can see it once they get kicked out? So this is what a professional will do. They'll come in, an expert, and they'll go through it because there's about 8 different ways of managing rules and where to put those rules, and they need to be checked very carefully.
I never even would have thought about the rules set up in there.
That is why you get an expert.
Yeah,
because
for sure.
They know. They'll be like, right, there's 8 different. They'll have what's called a run book, and they will literally run through essentially a playbook of what they need to go and check to make sure that account is sanitized. So, often there will be rules that will auto delete things that's basically covering their tracks. So we're looking for those sort of rules, and we're trying to fix all of that stuff up. The next part of it is the investigation. And the investigation part is trying to then find out what have they had access to. Because if someone's got access to email, the biggest problem I've seen in this country is whether it's legal, professional services, etc. They're like, oh, okay, you need a loan. We need a copy of your driver's license or passport or whatever. And it's like, email it through. Like, excuse me? And it's common. It's very, very, very common. And businesses still do it. And email is not secure for the exact reason I'm just telling you, right? So a breach occurs. Now you've got a threat actor in the mailbox. Or the first things they do is they'll run a number of searches on the mailbox. They'll look for data patterns that match driver's licenses, that will look for tax file numbers, that looks for account information, that looks for password reset emails, etc. So they get access to more things, right? So generally they're picking out, these poor people that have sent their driver's license and etc. Because the person gets the driver's license, they're like, great, they copy it onto their system, tick, but it's still sitting in their email.
Yes, that's right.
Right, and that's the problem. So you need to understand what has it touched as a data perspective, right? So personal identifiable information, like those bits that I've just mentioned, those are going to be important because who do you need to notify, right?
Yes.
And that brings us to the third point, which is notification. And notification is then notifying potentially the Information Commissioner, so the Australian Information Privacy Commissioner, if there's a harm caused. Right?
Yes.
Now, that is generally a legal term. If you've got insurance, definitely call the insurance, call them early because they'll have access to legal teams and forensics teams that can actually help with this sort of thing. Otherwise, you searching through your mailbox trying to determine what they found, right? If I can get a forensics team to run it, right? They'll have, within a few hours, they'll produce a spreadsheet that tells you exactly what it's touched. This bit of information, these are the people, etc. Because those are the people that you're going to need to notify directly.
Yes.
So
well, definitely sounds like it's worth bringing in the experts.
Absolutely. Agreed.
Yeah. And time saving too, I'm sure.
Agreed. So otherwise, you'll be stuck quite a while looking for stuff.
So what would you say the difference between a business that handles a breach like this well and a business that maybe not so much?
Like for me, I think it's around preparation. So having a documented incident plan, so a response plan, that's one part of it. The second part of it is actually running through the plan, actually testing it.
Yes.
So it's not 3 p.m. on a Thursday afternoon, people are trying to make a decision in a half-panicked state of what they're supposed to be doing. Who do they call? What are they trying to look for? A lot of the time, businesses freeze. And what they often get wrong is the notification goes backwards. And what I mean by that is the investigation hasn't begun yet, and they're notifying. Right? Like one of the mistakes I see is they notify the entire organization that there's a breach. Don't do that. Okay. That you hold while you're trying to work out what's going on. If anybody's got a direct query, fine, you can respond to them. You don't need to lie. I'm talking internal to your organization. You don't want a situation where it's going out to all staff and then they calling their aunts and uncles about, and then it ends up on Facebook. That you need to control the narrative. So it's keep it tight. You've got a response team, work through the plan, step. The more controlled and exercise that plan is, the more you're going to win, because essentially you're going to mitigate the amount of damage. If you send that out to all staff when you don't need to, and then it spreads somehow, you're causing more reputational damage before you've had a chance to even know what's going on, right?
Yeah.
For that matter. The other problem is coming out to the public too early as well.
Before you sort of know what.
Correct. Because what we have seen, which is frustrating for people, is they'll come out and go, okay, there has been a breach, but no data has been taken. And then 4 days later, the same person, unfortunately, normally the CEO, comes back and goes, they've taken a lot of data. And then, you know what I mean? And it feels like concealment when it's not. They're trying to do the right thing, but too quickly.
Yeah.
So your notification and speed of that response is important, but don't do it without the relevant information first.
Yes.
So the Information Commissioner gives you 30 days to do the investigation and notification.
Well, that's
right? It doesn't mean you should take 30 days.
No, I was going to say that seems like a fair amount of time.
You need to work quickly and methodically and notify as soon as you can with the right information.
Yes. Okay.
This is where your insurance will help again, because your legal teams, etc., they will coach you and guide you with that information.
Yeah. Well, that's good actually, because I was wondering whether or not you notify first or investigate first, so that's kind of, definitely cleared that up. Would you have any examples of a business, don't have to name them, of where you've had to run through this sort of situation with?
Through an actual breach, or there's a few because breaches happen all the time. So when there's a very large breach that takes place, we did deal with one for a legal firm a couple of years ago now, whereby it was a ransomware event. So they locked up, encrypted the files, so they couldn't work. Luckily, this was on a Sunday, so we had them back up and running on the Monday. That kind of thing. So, and it is, and then it's just a cycle of events from there of, containment, restoring them, getting your cyber insurance involved, that investigation taking place, forensics, etc. So you just got to step through it.
Yeah. Keep it cool.
and as for account breaches, because those are common, we dealt with one not last week before. Happens almost most weeks, but we've got a 24/7 security operations center. So that picked up the breach within about 12 minutes of them accessing the account. So we had
that's impressive.
So we had it locked down within 15 and kind of cleaned everything up. So in about 27 to 30 minutes from start to finish, it was dealt with. So.
Well, that is pretty impressive.
It's useful.
Yes,
it's
very. Yeah, exactly. Better than having them in there a couple of days.
Good. Yes, yeah.
For sure. What would you say the biggest mistake that businesses would make around, like, if they're breached? Would it just be not acting, just ignoring it?
Yeah, look, honestly, that's probably the biggest one, is that panic sets in and so there's no response.
Yeah.
And I think that is the biggest thing. Even if it's no response for an hour, while trying to, then you've lost that hour. And if it's like a business email compromise and they've done that invoice fraud, that money could be long gone. Yes. And if you had picked up within the hour, called the bank, you might have been able to reverse the funds, all those sort of things. So speed is important, but you get speed out of practice.
Yes, that's right, exactly. So, and I know you often talk about table topics and that sort of thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So our tabletop exercises are exactly that. It's get the breach response, gather the team. It normally takes around 2 hours. It can go longer, it depends. But generally a 2-hour decent sit down around a table and actually run through a scenario.
Yes.
So you basically pick a scenario, not quite random. There's scenarios that you would run that are more common than others. So you'd run them through. It's like if we do a ransomware response, then the next time it won't be a ransomware response, we'll do something else. So we could test a little bit of a different dynamic because sometimes it brings in different teams of who's doing communication or etc.
Yeah, and I guess it's good for the team because they probably feel reassured that if something does happen, that they're kind of like semi-equipped to deal with it.
The idea of the tabletop exercise is also to find any gaps.
Yes.
So they go, oh, okay, well, we'll need to do this. And it's like, oh, well, we don't even have that person on the and there should be because this would come in. So we were like, okay, so there's a gap there in communication. Add that in. Yeah. So that's the idea, is to try and pick out any gaps on the day, because you don't want to be dealing with unknowns on the day.
No, you definitely
So
don't.
it's like and we'll ask questions like, they'll go, oh, well, we'll just call Ben. Ben will handle this. And we're like, so the obvious question is, so Ben's not available. Mm-hmm. He's sick. Yeah. Now who are you calling? And then, hopefully then at that tabletop, if it's missed, then it's, okay, we need this person, so, yeah.
Would you say that more businesses are starting to understand like the importance of table topics and, basically running through these scenarios more so than you would say like 5 years ago?
Oh, definitely more than 5 years ago. Yeah. Absolutely. So I think that's coming more to the forefront. Yeah. So, yep.
I guess too, we're definitely hearing more and more about breaches and that sort of
Absolutely.
thing. So I think people are definitely becoming a bit more aware and it's a bit more on the radar.
Yeah, definitely. And look, a lot of pressure is coming down from the government to directors.
Yes.
So your board is now kind of very much more responsible for certain things happening. And the reason for that is there's been legal cases where we've had Australian Clinical Labs getting a $5.8 million fine.
That's right.
Last year, there was the next ones that came up with regards to finance type breaches as well. So that was ASIC that did that. So you had the Information Commissioner doing fines, but you've had ASIC doing fines as well. So there's two different kind of branches of government, let's say, that are coming after directors and businesses if you're not doing the right thing, right? And I think often the problem becomes going, well, what is the right thing?
Yes.
And that is what I tend to talk about. I will get in front of the board and say, right, these are the things that are being expected. This is what the costs are. And prioritize, and what do we actually put in first? What are we looking at? Like, should we be doing an audit? Do I need to do ISO 27001? What about this SMB 1001 I've heard about? What about Essential 8? Everybody's talking about Essential 8. So there's a lot of information there. So it's like, well, what do I prioritize and what do I actually do? What do I actually need so that if I'm ever standing in front of a judge, I can go, I've done the right thing. This is the information I got. This is what I understood. This is what we put in place.
Yeah, because it'd be very overwhelming. Like you say, there's
Absolutely.
so many different avenues to take, and finding the right fit is important.
Agreed. And that is literally the basis of my talk in October, is around that, because it is complicated.
Yes.
Right. And it doesn't need to be, but like, you definitely need an expert to understand a little bit about your business and what you need to put in place.
Put the right steps in place.
Yeah, definitely.
For sure. So you did mention cyber insurance before. So, I mean, a lot of businesses probably have cybersecurity insurance or a cybersecurity insurance policy, and are probably thinking, well, that's it, I'm sorted. Which, I mean, sounds good. Yeah. Is that the case?
I suppose if you do an analogy of like going, okay, you've got car insurance, right? So you're sorted. Like, you can drive however you want, right? You don't need to change your tires. You don't need to service your car. You see where I'm going. So no, you can't, because the idea then is if you have an accident in that car and you've got 4 bald tires, insurance is not paying out. Like, you have a problem, right? Because you haven't done the right thing, right? So, so again, it comes back to your responsibility and what you should be doing. So insurance is always there to help when something goes bad, right? So it's that kind of a bit of a catch-all. It's that kind of idea of going, if it goes bad, and it generally will at some point, that you have some extra expertise and money to help you deal with it, that you don't need to keep yourself aside. And very large businesses would self-insure, for instance. So they've got 3 million in the bank. So they're like, yeah, we can deal with it. And that's fine. But a lot of businesses don't.
No, that's right.
So that's where the insurance comes in. And so you still need to be doing the right things. Also, on top of that, it's cheaper in the long run to put in your pre-type items than post.
Yes.
It's that simple. In fact, the one of the cases I was talking about that was actually in the court documents as well, where it would have cost them like 1.1 million to do the pre-items that they needed to do, update servers, whatever it was, right? New firewall. I can't remember exactly what they were, versus having to do all of that, plus audit controls, plus the fine, etc. That came out at 2.5.
Oh.
So it's like spend 1 or spend 2.5.
Yeah.
It's up to you.
No,
right?
I'd rather do.
So no, you can't just get cyber insurance. Like in place of good cyber hygiene, you have to do the good cyber hygiene.
Yes.
And then have insurance. And then a lot of people go, okay, so I'll only get the insurance then once I get all these things in place. They're like, no, you probably need to run them in parallel, right? So look at the cyber insurance and then make sure that you get the bits and pieces in that you need.
Because would there be sort of like some sort of checklist or something like that where you have to go through and...
Absolutely. There's going to be a minimum that a insurance company is going to expect. So, 3-4 years ago, that it used to be like a 1-pager, like tick, 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 insurance. Now I'm seeing those documents like getting to about 20 pages. It's like an audit, right? So it's kind of becoming this audit. And if you do have an IT firm, if you outsource your IT, generally what you can do is grab that, send it to your IT provider and go, can you help me fill this in? I do have a caution around that though, which is, it kind of sounds obvious, but I'm going to say it anyway. Don't tick a box that says you're doing something like you've got EDR, right? So endpoint protection and response type setup, right? If you don't. Because if something goes wrong and then they check, right, and you didn't and you said you did, they won't pay out.
Yeah.
Right. I think everybody knows that though from an insurance perspective, right?
Well, I guess it's the same.
It's how it works.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. It's like, yes, I've got window locks. And it's like, okay, your burglary came through this window that didn't have a lock.
Yeah.
It's going to invalidate the insurance. So you do need to be very, very careful with that. I mean, like I said, it's kind of obvious. It's illegal to lie on the documents anyway.
Still worth,
but
highlighting.
Well, let's put it, okay, I'll put it in a different way. I think what happens there, though, is the business owner genuinely thinks that they have the thing that they've ticked, right? So they've spoken about to their IT service provider, we need MFA everywhere. Like I've watched the podcast, they keep talking about MFA.
Yes. A lot.
It's been burnt into my brain. So I go and speak to my IT provider and I get MFAs in. So when I get that document and it says, you have MFA enabled, right, everywhere, you go, tick. I've discussed this with my IT person. I paid money for a project to get MFA rolled out to everywhere. Done. Then they get breached through an old admin account that has no MFA. And the forensics picks that up, goes to the insurance provider, and they go, you tick the box that you have MFA. But there was this account that does not have MFA. Again, they're not going to pay.
Yeah.
But now where does the responsibility lie? As far as the business owner is concerned, they have MFA. They've paid for it.
Yes.
Right? So where's it falling down? Right? And quite often this is where it starts coming out to auditing and making sure that you have whatever you think you have actually in place. And that's also important. So
yeah, it's a lot for businesses to kind of absorb and...
Agreed. And that's why honestly, probably the best way to do it is probably outsourced. It's just finding a provider that can do all these things that's not like horrendously expensive because it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Right? So...
But important to get it right.
Correct. Yeah.
What would you say with claims that are put in? What would you say is the biggest reason for getting knocked back?
Like rejected?
Yeah.
It is exactly what I just said.
Yeah.
It's where you've ticked a box because you think you have it and it's not. One I saw a couple of years ago was they said that they did cybersecurity awareness training with staff and they didn't. And it was an easy thing for the insurance to check, right? They just interview one of the staff members and go, when last did you have? And they go, oh, I've never had that. And you're like, great. So, yeah, the insurance didn't pay.
Our team would be like, oh, we have too much of it.
Yeah, well, yeah. And it's like, it's horrendous. But, yeah, in that case, that only cost them $40,000. So it was $80,000 lost for a weekly pay run. They managed to hack and get into the payroll system. They changed everybody's accounts over to their accounts. Then the weekly pay run went on the Tuesday, and I think on the Wednesday morning they started getting queries going, where's my pay?
Yeah.
So they managed to get to the bank. The bank reversed half of it from 80, so they got 40 back. So they were out of pocket by 40. They did have cyber insurance, but then failed on the cyber awareness training.
Very disappointing.
Which had nothing to do with the breach, by the way.
No, well, that's it exactly.
It didn't matter. It's just a case of you said you did this, you didn't. We're not paying.
Yeah, it'll be very disappointing, that's for sure.
Yeah. So
is there a bit of a gap between what people think that they're covered for with cybersecurity insurance as opposed to what they actually are? Or does it sort of vary depending policy to policy?
I don't know. But there definitely can be gaps. So whether that's common or not, I don't know. But I've certainly seen when these forms come through, for instance, I help our clients. What do we fill in? What do we say we do and we don't do and all those things? There are quite a few potentially gotchas from clauses that you do need to be aware of, right? So number one, if you're using a broker, which I think a lot of people do, it's probably good to just say to the broker, hey, can I grab 15 minutes, sit down on a phone call and actually run through two scenarios.
Yep.
So that he can walk you through, he or she can walk you through the clauses of when they pay out and when they don't, right? And what you need to do, because it's actually important. So the first one I'd do is actually ransomware. So say, okay, everything's been locked. What happens? Do I call you first? Can I spend any money to fix the problem that I have before calling you? Or do I need to call you first and get authorization? Otherwise, you won't reimburse me. So there's things like that. And get him to walk through the clauses of where the issues are with that. Once you understood that, then run another scenario and say an account gets breached. They re-invoice one of our clients. We've lost $100,000.
Yeah.
Right. Can we get that money back? What does that look like? And have them run through that scenario. And the reason for that is there's often clauses where they'll exclude things like social engineering, right? But the problem is, what does social engineering mean? Is it an email that tricks someone into giving their username and password or phishing? Is that also social engineering? Or is social engineering only if they call and convince someone over a phone call to make the bank account change? Like, what do they mean?
Yes, well, that's it exactly.
So the definitions are important. And luckily today we do have AI. AI is obviously not a lawyer, but it's not bad at reading through documentation and working out certain clauses. You could ask the same questions of your preferred AI tool, and it would give you probably a half decent answer. It might not be right. I would definitely go to the broker if I've got access to the broker.
I have actually used it for that too, not for something quite as serious as cybersecurity insurance, but I have when I've been strapped for time and I'm like, I just want to see if there's any red flags.
Absolutely.
In this.
And it's not bad.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Yeah.
But like you say, I mean, you do still need to do your own.
Again, you have to think, it's like, they are not a lawyer.
No.
Like we get this, right? The responsibility is still yours.
Yes, exactly.
Yes? Okay.
But it definitely pulled out some red flags.
Also, it might pull out a few things that you could take to the broker and query.
Yes, exactly.
I noticed blah. I mean, you didn't. Claude did, or whatever you're using, but it doesn't matter, right? The point is so that we get a little bit better at actually understanding what we're signing and what it's going to cover.
Yeah, because sometimes those terms and conditions can be
They can.
laborious.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And if you don't quite understand it, and then it's like something happens and you go to them and they go, oh, no, that's social engineering. And you're like, okay. And it's like, oh, you see this tick box here. You didn't tick the social engineering box.
Yeah.
And then you don't have it.
Yeah, well, it's definitely some good points to look out for there.
Yeah.
For sure. And would you say, just moving away from that, but still around risk, like third-party supplier risk, is that something that's probably, worth highlighting?
Absolutely. This is another one. Like when we started this, we said, oh, there's been a few changes. And it's not necessarily changes. It's kind of awareness levels, let's say, are changing, which is great, right? And one of the big ones that have come in, mostly through our government as well, which is great to see. But they are concerned around critical infrastructure, right? And where what they started looking at is going, okay, the supply chain for critical infrastructure is also important. Example, a company that's looking after water in some way, distributing the water, putting chemicals in the water, whatever it is, right, is a critical infrastructure component. But what about the business downstream that provides widgets to this business so that they can open and close valves for water, right? If they get ransomware over here and can't supply said widgets, where maybe in this business they've identified they need 100 widgets per month, otherwise services stop. Now it becomes a critical path.
Yes.
Right? So that's supply chain risk. So the problem is downstream, right? You have suppliers, whatever their security is, you are inheriting. So if they're terrible at their cybersecurity, right, and they're getting ransomware, it's going to affect you. Similar, you are downstream from your consumers.
Yes.
So that's why they talk about supply chain risk. And it's understanding what is upstream and what is downstream from you, understanding what the risks are. And then from a cybersecurity perspective, you are essentially inheriting part of that risk up and down.
Yeah.
So that's where that comes from. Yeah.
And I mean, that's even trickier it's hard enough looking after your own cybersecurity and then having to, investigate what everyone else is doing as well.
Absolutely. And look, larger providers have kind of been sending a spreadsheet with questions to generally smaller suppliers because they've got their cybersecurity handled.
Yes.
They're large. It's like Woolworths. They've got lots of suppliers and they just send a spreadsheet that's got 1,000 questions on. And unfortunately, what that becomes is a tick box exercise. It's like, yep, but I do all these things.
Because that was going to be my question, actually. If you're signing up with a new supplier or like software provider or something like that, what would be the best questions to ask? But it sounds like there would be many.
Look, there are quite a few. And obviously, again, if you can outsource it, great. If you can't, then you do want to cover some of the basics. And there are some shortcuts to this in that you could, so an international certification around these sort of things that people may recognize is ISO 9001. 9001 is quality control, right? And it's well understood globally. It's an international standard. And it's often used for manufacturers and things like that. But it can be used anywhere. The idea is you provide a consistent quality service, right? Now, ISO 27001 is that same sort of concept, but for security. So if you have a new supplier, you could ask, right, what cybersecurity controls do you have in place? They might come back and go, oh, we are ISO 27001 standard. Okay, that gives you a little bit of confidence that they take it seriously.
A bit of peace of mind.
And they're doing something about it. Doesn't necessarily mean they're doing everything that they need to, but it's certainly a step in the right direction. Always remember, security is not black and white.
Yes.
Nothing is 100% secure. So it's always about security in depth, right? So yes, they've got ISO 27001. Great. Do they host your data, right? And a lot of the time for suppliers, software, they do, right? So do they have SOC 2 compliance? Now, just kind of rattling off a bunch of
acronyms. Love an acronym.
But the idea is a lot of these so keep it simple for yourself and actually just ask, what do you do around cybersecurity? How do you keep our data safe? Where is our data? Who has access to it? Mm-hmm. It's that same sort of question you asked about your own data. Where is it? Who has access to it? Right? So same. Where's it kept? Who has access to it? Etc. So and things like is MFA enabled for users getting access to that data? If it's a SaaS, so this software as a service, and you storing personal information in there, and they do not have MFA, I am not using them.
Yes.
End of story. Mm-hmm. So it's like going like we use Xero for accounting. Awesome. Do they have MFA? Yes, they actually forced MFA a couple of years ago. No questions, you will be using MFA. Fantastic. Go use Xero.
And I guess if they do have those things in place, you have peace of mind and know that they do take cybersecurity seriously. Absolutely. And if they don't, well, it's potentially not someone you really want to do business with anyway.
Correct. And certainly I'd be asking these questions before signing a contract.
Yes, definitely.
So quite often these businesses will have what's called a trust center on their website, and they will put all the relevant documentation around their security, privacy, etc., all under this trust center, which I think is a great idea. Yeah. I think more businesses should actually have a dedicated web page that's called Trust Center and put all their stuff there. So it's
we might have to look into doing that too.
If we could, that would be fantastic.
I'll add it to my list.
I do like it. Yeah, because it's easier. A customer or potential customer looks at it, looks through it and go, okay, they've thought about it, they've put it in. Again, not a guarantee, but it steps in the right direction. So you have a better understanding of where they're coming from.
Well, it definitely shows that there's initiative there to keep
and it's also due
safe.
Diligence from our perspective. So if I'm a director, right, it does sit on me to make sure that I've done the due diligence about my suppliers.
Yes.
So if I can go, I have cited their SOC 2 report and their ISO 27000 report, as in it's not expired, as an example, right? I can go, cool. And on that note, obviously a larger company has got generally more suppliers that they have to deal with. So trying to do this kind of risk assessment across that many suppliers, now that's starting to get cumbersome.
Yes.
Right? And there are tools for this sort of thing. So you can actually get a system that actually goes and gathers this information for you, puts it all in one place, right? And it can actually give you a risk heat map of your suppliers. So if anything changes as well, right, you doing a review, I don't know, quarterly, or you get alerted that something's changed. So like maybe you use Cisco, for instance, and then Cisco's had a breach on one of their firewalls, or there's a vulnerability. It will feed back into the system and comes up red, and you're like, oh, what's that? And you know to go and do something or not. Yeah,
that's pretty handy.
That is for the larger side. It is expensive to obviously manage all of that, but that's definitely
I guess if you're a larger business and you are dealing with that many suppliers, it's something worth looking
and
into.
if you're the smaller business, it's actually just running through a smaller due diligence checklist.
Yeah.
Do they take care of their cybersecurity? Like you want to see some evidence of it. You want to ask some questions. Do you use MFA? Where's my data kept? Those are the type of questions you would ask. And then store those responses somewhere.
Yes.
So if anything happens, you can always go, yeah, we did do our due diligence. This is what we checked. And they said they did these things.
Yeah. I wonder how many smaller businesses are actually taking that initiative to do that.
This is relatively new.
Yeah, I know. I was thinking because we haven't. I know exactly. We haven't talked about it before.
It's absolutely why we're talking about it.
It's actually such a great thing that you have brought it up today, especially for smaller businesses, because I think a lot of the time, again, as we always go back to, we're not going to be targets, but yes, you obviously have to think about what's like having friends. You associate with the wrong friends, it can get you in trouble, and you associate with the wrong suppliers. Don't take cybersecurity seriously. Yeah. It could be your undoing. So, I think those points that you've touched on will be very beneficial for smaller to medium businesses to take on board.
No, good.
Well, we've certainly covered plenty of information. Is there any one particular thing that you'd like people to take away from today's episode, or you've probably covered off plenty?
I would, and like the bits and pieces, like what do you go do now? A big one is that data cleansing. Go and do that exercise at like, take an afternoon, go, right, we're going to just go through that. Check that your privacy policy aligns to what you actually do. And I'm saying that because they're actually doing checks. They're doing audits. So you could be fined, like, make sure you're doing what you say you're doing. I mean, it's, like you said, it's not particularly hard, right? It's just like document and do what you said you were going to do. That's it. Double check your cyber insurance. Make sure you haven't ticked any boxes that you're not doing. That's important because it will invalidate that insurance. So it's very important to get that done. Start having a think about your supplier chain. That one is a little bit different, but certainly start having a little think about where that is. And then that other one is that incident response plan. Make sure it's documented. Right? Yes. That is actually part of the privacy policy around a notifiable data breach scheme that came in February 2018. You should have a documented plan. You should be testing that plan.
Yes.
That's what I'd leave you with.
Well, thank you.
Okay.
And I mean, you're always sharing things on LinkedIn as well. You're very active on LinkedIn with giving different scenarios and tips, information, likewise with the Mercury IT LinkedIn. So if people do want to sort of stay more up to date, please follow.
Absolutely. Agreed.
Excellent. See you again soon.
Thanks.